Hey y'all! Thought we'd pop in today to talk about the magic of handmade gifts and why a ball of yarn, a piece of fabric, or a humble little embroidery hoop can sometimes mean more than anything you could swipe a credit card for. Now, I know we live in a world where you can order a flamingo shaped waffle maker at 2 in the morning and have it delivered before you've finished questioning your life choices. But there is something special about a gift that comes from somebody's own hands, especially in the fiber arts world, where every project is basically a tiny adventure involving optimism, determination, and at least one moment where you wonder if counting stitches is really that important. Spoiler alert, it usually is. One of the reasons handmade gifts feel so meaningful is that they're made with something we never seem to have enough of anymore: time. When somebody opens a scarf, a blanket, a stitched ornament, or a handmade tote bag, they're not just receiving an object, they're receiving hours. Sometimes a lot of hours. Sometimes enough hours that if you calculated your labor rate honestly, that scarf would cost roughly the same as a used pickup truck. Every row, stitch, seam, and knot represents time that could have been spent doing something else. Instead, you chose to spend it creating something for another person. That's a pretty powerful message, even if the recipient never realizes you had to frog 3 entire sections because you somehow added 17 mystery stitches. The funny thing about handmade gifts is that crafters often underestimate their value. We see every little flaw because we spent weeks staring at it. We know where the tension got weird. We know where we accidentally sewed something backward and fixed it at 2 in the morning while questioning our career choices. We know that one section of cross-stitch where we absolutely did not count correctly and had to perform what can only be described as mathematical wizardry to make it work. Meanwhile, the recipient is holding the finished item and thinking that it's the most wonderful thing they've ever seen. They don't see the mistakes. They see the effort, the creativity, and the fact that someone cared enough to make something just for them. Of course, making a memorable handmade gift isn't really about making the most complicated project possible. In fact, sometimes crafters get themselves into trouble by deciding every gift needs to be a masterpiece worthy of its own museum wing. Suddenly, it's October, Christmas is approaching at frightening speed, and you've decided to knit a king-size blanket, embroider every family member's portrait, and sew matching pajamas for 14 relatives and 3 dogs. Friends, this is how crafting becomes an endurance sport. The best handmade gifts are usually the ones that fit the recipient, not the ones that require sacrificing sleep and surviving entirely on coffee and stubbornness. That means the first question shouldn't be, what do I want to make? The first question should be, what would this person actually use? We have all known someone who lives in a climate where winter lasts approximately 3 days. Maybe they don't need 7 wool scarves. Maybe they would love a market bag or a set of dishcloths or a handmade pouch for organizing things. Think about how they live. Do they read, cook, travel, garden, work at a desk? Fiber arts are wonderfully flexible because we can create practical items that fit into everyday life. And honestly, there's something satisfying about giving a gift that doesn't immediately disappear into a drawer, never to be seen again. Another secret to memorable gifts is paying attention to personal style. This sounds obvious, I know, but every crafter eventually falls into the trap of making what they like instead of what the recipient likes. Maybe you adore bright orange yarn. Maybe you think neon green polka dots are the height of sophistication. The person receiving your gift may not share your artistic vision. Before starting a project, think about the colors they wear, the decor they use, and the things they naturally gravitate toward. The goal is not to create a clone of your own taste. The goal is to make something that feels like it belongs in their world. That's what makes a handmade gift feel personal, rather than random. One of my favorite things about fiber crafts is how many different gift possibilities exist. Knitters and crocheters have endless options. Hats and scarves and shawls and blankets, market bags, plushies, mug cozies, and dishcloths are really just the beginning. Sewists can create tote bags, zipper pouches, pillow covers, aprons, and organizers. Cross-stitchers and embroiderers can produce framed art, ornaments, bookmarks, and personalized keepsakes. The beauty of these crafts is that they allow us to create gifts that range from practical to decorative and everything in between. Fiber artists are basically tiny gift factories fueled by creativity and a concerning collection of supplies. Let's take a moment to talk about gift planning, because this is where many crafting disasters begin. Every year, ambitious crafters convince themselves they can complete 37 projects in 3 weeks. Every year, reality responds with laughter. If you're making gifts for a holiday or special occasion, start earlier than you think you need to. Then start even earlier than that. Projects always take longer than expected. The yarn you need will mysteriously vanish from existence. The fabric store will be out of the exact color you plan to use. Your sewing machine will choose that moment to develop a personality. Planning ahead turns crafting into an enjoyable experience instead of a race against time. Presentation also matters more than people think. You don't need expensive wrapping paper or elaborate packaging. In fact, handmade gifts often look wonderful wrapped in simple ways. A fabric drawstring bag, a bit of ribbon, a handwritten note, or even a simple tag can elevate the entire experience. Think of packaging as the frame around a piece of artwork. It helps to tell a story. And if you've ever watched somebody carefully unfold a handmade package only to discover another handmade item inside, you know it creates a special moment. It's like opening a gift and finding a bonus gift hiding underneath. Some of the most meaningful gifts aren't even the finished project themselves. Sometimes the real gift is the experience of making something together. Teaching someone to crochet their first chain stitch, helping a child thread a needle, or spending an afternoon sewing with a friend creates memories that last much longer than physical objects. Skills have a remarkable way of continuing to give long after they've been shared. A person may eventually wear out a scarf, but they'll remember learning to knit with their grandmother or spending evenings stitching alongside a friend. Those memories become part of the fabric of a relationship, and that's difficult to replace. The truth is that handmade gifts are memorable because they contain something no factory can mass produce. They contain thoughtfulness. Every choice, from the color and the pattern to the type of yarn or fabric, was made with a specific person in mind. That's what transforms a handmade item from a simple object into something meaningful. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to win awards at the county fair. It just has to communicate that somebody cared enough to create something special. In a world full of disposable things, that kind of intention stands out in the very best way possible. Well, y'all, that's about it. I'd love to hear about the most memorable handmade gift you've ever given or received, so leave a comment and tell us your story. Happy stitching!